each other.
Hi! Hello, guys. Welcome to the Art of Dating podcast with your host, Jovi Beauty and Natalie. Welcome on this beautiful Thursday. I had to look. I'm acting like we don't do this on Thursdays.
What
How
day
is
is
everyone
it?
doing today? So today's video, we're gonna talk about today's show. We're talking about go ahead.
Oh God. I promise everyone that today's gonna be spicy. Today's gonna be spicy. We're talking about fairy tales today. We grew up on watching those Disney movies, Cinderella, Snow White, Tiana and the Frog. And most of our lives as little girls, we're looking for our Prince Charming, right? Because that's what we were fed. And so Jovi and I have, when I think about it, it's always the same. I think we have similar points of view, but we just express it differently and our journeys are different, right? so, but the point of this,
I would like to point out that you said, before I forget, that is what we are fed. I want to just point that out.
Well, listen, I'm not gonna say I am a grown woman. And so I'm not gonna sit here and say that I am gonna lose. I was looking for the guy who found my slipper at the ball. That's not it. But I think that we have to have a different conversation of what it means to have a fairy tale. So this episode, like, I don't think we're coming into this to try to convince each other of anything or convince anybody else of anything. I think we're just going to present our point of view on, is a fairy tale possible in real life? My stance, and I think no one is surprised, is yes, it is possible. But there's obviously more to that. Jovi feels.
I can speak for myself.
I'm asking you, what do you feel?
Like using words like fairy tale and perfect and my Prince Charming and shit like that can be more detrimental than good. Okay. I think that those things aren't real. And sometimes people get so caught up in this fantasy fairy tale that they're not dealing with the realities of life. Like you said previously, that I pointed out, you said little girls and we have been fed this shit. And boys have not been fed this same shit for the most part. So majority of the girls, in my opinion, that are looking for fairy tales, not because I believed in fairy tales. Okay, I used to really fucking believe in this shit, especially when I was young and, I thought I was going to marry my high school boyfriend. I believed in all of that shit, okay? But the reality is that those are stories made up by mostly misogynistic men who want you just to think that, I don't know.
Okay.
Everything's a dream.
Let's backtrack a little bit, because you already, like, to me, a fairy tale needs to be redefined. To me, fairy tale means getting what you want, getting your ideal, being happy in your relationship, being in the healthy relationship, getting the relationship that you want. I think that in most senses, I believe that you can get the relationship that you want. And that's the fairy tale to me. I think fairy tales are personal. I don't think it's about perfect. I think it's perfect for you, which is a very individual experience. And it's like, yes, we can go into the history of fairy tales, and most people don't know fairy tales actually have a very dark meaning, right?
Yes, they do.
But we're talking about the fairy tale in the commercial package one that we get, the Disney movies.
The commercial package one is still nasty.
Oh, really? See, this is where we talk about interpretation.
The commercial package one. Can you imagine you passed out somewhere in a coma, bitch? Right now, you go to. Can you imagine some nurse dude thinking he Prince Charming and going in some hospital with some chick in a coma and tonguing her ass down?
That's literal.
See, look,
See,
The
you're
other
taking
one,
it
the other one
literally.
that stalked Cinderella. Cinderella
No.
danced with this dude a couple of dances, right? Peep game. She danced with him a couple of dances, okay? She bounced because it was getting late. She left. She ain't give him her name. She ain't give him her number, nothing. She left. She ran so fast, she dropped her shoe. This motherfucker commenced to use his power to track this woman down. And I'm not even misogyny.
No,
bullshit.
see, that
You should be more on that shit than me.
No.
I don't understand how I could connect those dots.
No, see, but those are connecting the dots those are based on your interpretation. When it comes to yes, because everything is not to be
that's the plot of the stories. Okay?
Can I finish? No, the story. This is the story, and then this is the interpretation. Okay, the story is which one? It says Cinderella.
Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty.
Okay,
Who else? The one that got sent off to live with some beast.
Let me give you my interpretation. 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 I'm not gonna tell you it to you. Let me give you my interpretation.
Somebody in the chat, tell me what's that syndrome name? When you fall in love with your kidnapper.
I know what it is, but I'm not gonna tell you until you let me give you my interpretation. So
somebody's gonna give it to me. It's okay.
With Cinderella, she lost her slipper. Her dream was to go to the ball. Her dream was to have a prince. So she went to the ball, she lost her slipper, and she had no ways of being identified. Yes, that's what it is. But can I finish? Thank you. So it could be mine. No, this is a story. First, we have to lay the story, and then I can tell you my interpretation. The story is there's a girl whose name is Cinderella. She went to a ball. She lost her slipper. The prince looked for her, and and he found her and lived happily ever after. That's the story. Now we can interpret it your way, that he stalked her and forced her to marry him, or we can interpret it another way. This is a woman who fantasized with being with the prince, who looked at the castle every day, who wanted to marry the prince, and someone gave her the means, which is her fairy godmother, to do it, because her identity was wiped out by her stepmother. So she goes to the ball, and the prince falls in love with her. She falls in love with him, but because of her circumstances, she doesn't have a way to get in touch with him. So she loses the slipper, and because he was so enamored by her, he's gonna do whatever it takes to find her, and she wanted to be with him. So it can be interpreted that way too. So that's why I say fairy tales are personal. As an adult woman, they are personal. And I think that as children, the problem is that these things aren't broken down. Children are very literal, right? So it's like, oh yeah, boys are gonna be nice. Boys are gonna look for me. He's gonna find my slipper. He's gonna do this. He's gonna do that. And again, it's about re-education. A fairy tale means that you can get what you want. For me, a fairy tale means you can get what you want. You can find the guy who's right for you, and you can be happy in it. And it can feel like a fairy tale.
Okay.
So it's about interpretation.
Yeah. Stalkers interpret it that the woman is in love with them too. I feel you.
That's a stalker. We're talking about very specific situation.
Yeah.
Don't go off topic.
Okay.
Don't go off topic. Okay. We're talking about
can I just say that I do believe in finding someone that is perfect for you, that is great for you, that is meant for you. I am bothered by the fairy tale happily ever after, because that to me kind of implies not being rational.
Why?
Because fairy tales are fairy tales, and they're stories for children, and we're grown-ups. And even as a child, you may not be able to, it was so great, he kissed her. But as an adult, I look at it differently. He kissed her while she was passed the fuck out. As an adult, I look at it like Stockholm syndrome. As an adult, I look at it like that's not goals. But that's just me and my interpretation.
Yes, it is your
I don't like the
interpretation.
wording. I think it is dangerous. I think it causes women sometimes to be foggy in the mind and not deal with the realities of just people, men, people in general, and just thinking that everything is, or better yet, just not expecting this sort of perfection that can never be attained, because nobody is perfect. I'm not perfect. You ain't perfect. He's not perfect. They're not perfect. No one is perfect. And I think that sometimes when you live too deeply in that, in my fairy tale, in my happily ever after, that the minute that anything goes wrong, your fucking world falls apart, because this is no longer the fairy tale perfection that you have been expecting since you were 5 years old.
See, but I think that the fact is, like, yeah, no one is perfect. But to me, the fairy tale is the idea that you can find someone who loves you. You can find someone who's perfect for you. You can find someone that will make your life feel like a fairy tale. I don't think it's wrong. Why do, as adults, we have to be anchored in the hard, harsh, negative reality, and we can't be?
But why is it hard and harsh?
Let me finish. Let me finish. Thank you. So why can't, as adults, why does everything have to be interpreted as something negative, or as something harsh, or as something that is going to have a certain consequences? Or why does interpretation always have to be something that's less than happy? Like, it's like once we become adults, it's like our threshold is, okay, this, I always have to be weary of people. I can't trust people. I have to, like, think twice about everything. And it's like, if you get in the right state of mind and you do the work, you don't have to live with that mindset. Because it's like, if you have that mindset of, like, the reality is X, Y, and Z, and there's no way that someone can be either that nice or that wonderful, or, like, let me look at him sideways because he's being too, all these things, like, that creates a barrier to find the person that's right for you. You're no longer open as a woman, because you're just sitting here thinking, like, that can't happen, that can't be real. So I think it's just about redefining what it means to have a fairy tale. To me, fairy tales, the stories, the movies, really meant that, like, you can find someone who's gonna be there for you. You can find someone who's your ideal, as an adult interpreting it. I do think that, we have to have a healthy balance of the reality and what we're seeing.
I think that you are being too literal and too black and white in this topic. I don't understand where it veered towards. Why does it have to be, weary of him, or just everything is negative because I said that fairy tales aren't real? There is being anchored in the reality of just life and living. I think it's a little mentally disturbed, not you, but I think it's a little mentally disturbed to just say that everything is just perfection in the world where people are dying right now and today. You just have to be aware of the world. It doesn't have to negatively like make you just a harsh person and just think like, everybody's fucked up and everything is fucked up. But you should be aware as a grown-up. Because when you aren't aware, you end up like what Jada said. When you aren't aware, you end up, in situations, and I put that as one of my bullet points, because we do have bullet points, even though I'm coming off the top of my head right now. You end up in situations where, this is supposed to be my Prince Charming, and I'm gonna work this out and fix this out because this is supposed to be, instead of just dealing with the reality of the situation for what it is.
But that's different. Like, I don't think that awareness has to negate fairy tale. And I think that the problem is that you and I, and this is often why we end up disagreeing, because we're working with completely different definitions. And we're not even on the same page about the definition to then talk about our point of view on it. Like, a fairy tale to me doesn't mean that I sat here 5 years ago or in my 30s or in my 20s thinking that some guy was gonna come and into my apartment and kiss me and then, oh, that's my Prince Charming. That's literally what breaking and entering and raping would be. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, most of us aren't princesses and don't have lands and aren't, Cinderellas and all that stuff. So to me, it's all about interpretation. It's about the fact that you have to be aware, yes, but you can be happy. A fairy tale to me is just what you personally feel is going to be fulfilling to you in your relationship. Because I feel like often the message that we get is, oh no, like nothing is perfect, so you just got to deal, and I think that's dangerous too, when it's like you're not letting people know that women, right? Women know that what you want is out there and you can get it. Who's that knocking on my door?
Delivery man.
We didn't order anything. Oh, delivery. That's what he said, but I don't know. We didn't order anything. So I think
delivery for real.
Yeah. I guess my question is, what is the definition of a fairy tale to you? Because we still
a fairy tale that you read in a book.
Okay.
Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty. Did you see the thumbnail that I made for the video?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, that's a fairy tale. A fairy tale is a story for children. Okay. I just don't believe that adults should believe. I believe, yes, you should want a magnificent relationship. Maybe it's the verbiage. I don't like the word fairy tale for grown-ass women anymore. Maybe that's just what it is. Maybe you have this perception of it. My perception is it's a story for that we tell children.
See, I don't think it's like a story. I don't take it literal. But then maybe that's the English major in me. Like, everything that I read, like, I've been trained to think of things in like a literal sense, a factual sense, then like the opinion sense. Like, there's levels to this. So to me, it's like fairy tale is just a symbol for what's personal and perfect for you. Maybe you don't like the word, but I think that even as adults, we're allowed to use fanciful language. Like, we don't always have to be. I just feel like we can use that type of language and play and be light and not always think like, oh, this has to be X, Y, and Z. Like, this is the way that things are. Like,
I didn't say that.
I don't think that
that's the white. That's the black and white thing right there, because I didn't say that.
You said that you think fairy tales are for children, and that we have to be.
You asked me what was my opinion of fairy tales.
I'm telling you what's my opinion too. I'm telling you what's my opinion, but because we're on the opposite spectrum of this, where it was gonna be like, I didn't say that. I'm not talking about even like what you're saying. I'm talking about what I believe to be a fairy tale. Like, I don't think that there's anything wrong with fantasizing as an adult or, putting this romantic, playful language around it.
Hold on. I blocked you, and I block bitches for less. Don't come at me on my page, and don't tell me what to do on my page.
Who are you talking about?
Some bitch I blocked. Continue.
What did she say? Oh my God.
Continue.
Well, Jay, let me stop.
Tutu said, is fairy tale the ideal mate? If you want to say ideal mate, I can fucks with you. I can't F with the word fairy tale and Prince Charming, and I may even be able to give you soulmate. Because that's soul ties. I'll give you soulmate. I'm looking for my soulmate. I give you soulmate, no doubt. Say that. But when you say fairy tale, to me, that implies to perception, what normal regular people's perception is, the Cinderella fairy tale, story that we read when we were children. It's a story.
Okay. I mean,
I want a soulmate in real life. Because looking for again, I was watching Criminal Minds. You ever watch Criminal Minds?
Mm-mm.
So is this, you know what it is?
I think so. It's
like a FBI. Basically, they track down serial killers, right? There was this beautiful girl. She was delusional as shit. She thought she was Cinderella, right? All of these men was trying to, get at her. They thought she was a little slow. She was a little slow. And, she was killing them because they did not stand, they were trying to have sex with her and do different things. And they didn't stand up to the ideal she had in her head of Prince Charming, right? There was actually a guy she worked for like a cleaner's. And the cleaner's son was fucking in love with her. But she couldn't see that shit at all. Because she almost killed him. Thank God she didn't. But she almost killed the cleaner's son. He was just in love with her. And she couldn't see it because he wasn't this fairy tale ideal that she created in her mind. When people say fairy tale, that's what I think. Like you miss the best things that could be there for you because you're so stuck on this fairy tale image that you got in your head.
See, I feel like we're talking, like I said, we were going to do in the beginning, about different things, because it's like, okay, the verbiage. I don't have a problem with the verbiage personally. Like, I think, because to me, I'm not sitting here literally thinking that I'm a princess in a tower. So to me, it's not problematic. I associate fairy tale with what's like your happily ever after, your version of being able to know that you found someone that you can just rest easy with and you can go along with that. Like, that's what my ideal is. And I feel like sometimes we think, and then going back to the premise of Criminal Minds, we think like, oh, when we're watching the movies, I realize like the girl misses out on the best friend that's in love with her. He seems perfect, because she's searching for this ideal. But it's like, at the same time, why do we have to take away that choice from women? Like, I feel like even though we get the whole fairy tale narrative taught to us, we're also taught that we can't get it at the same time. Like, why don't you settle for the best friend who likes you? And yeah, maybe he's a little nerdy, but he'll carry your books for you.
He wasn't nerdy.
No, not him, but you know what I'm saying. That I feel like sometimes a woman is gonna be geared to a certain type of person, and because maybe she's reaching too high or she's reaching for that happily ever after, we tell like you can't get all of that. And I feel like you can. Like, you can get everything.
What are we referring to exactly when you say that?
What?
When you say she reaching too high?
No, when a woman is saying like, oh, I want someone who is, I don't know, whatever her criteria is, sometimes people tell her like, you're reaching too high. Like,
maybe she just can't get nobody that look like that. We talking about looks and stuff?
No, I'm talking about everything. Like, I'm talking about like somebody's criteria. They'll be like, oh, you're too high maintenance, or your standards are too high, or your
standards should be very high. But I also think you need, well, again, I don't know exactly what you're referring to, but I think sometimes people also need to be rational in certain things. Like, what do you look like? Even though I do see a lot of ugly women with attractive men.
But then, you know what? I mean, we had a discussion about beauty being in the eye of the beholder. So we don't know.
If you're ugly.
See, that's another conversation. I don't believe that, but it's okay. Like, maybe to the guy that is good looking to you, that is a good looking woman to him, and that's why he's with her. Like, everybody has their interpretation of what they want, and I feel like
people do have their own interpretation of beauty. Okay.
But people have their, when I was referring to is like, people have their criteria, right? And you're saying in the show that the girl was looking for her happily ever after, so she missed out on the cleaner's son who was in love with her.
She went she murdered like 6 guys she met at a bar just because they had corny pickup lines, because they were able to look at her and tell that she was one, either a little slow or really believed in this Prince Charming bullshit. So they gave her corny pickup lines like, oh, I don't know, boo. I don't know corny white people pickup lines, but they gave her like corny lines trying to get her in bed. And she fell for it because she was a townie and they were men, tall, dark, and handsome, I guess, assholes with nice cars, chariots, and shit. And that was what a prince was supposed to be. But they were ass wipes. But she missed that. Until she had to kill him. She missed that part.
But she's a murderer, so I don't even know if that's the best example to be.
She's a psychopath. But again, to me, it's still like it's crazy. To an extent, to me, is to say it's crazy to believe so hard in not this. Okay, yes, you should go for it. You should always find and go for what you want out of life. But I think that I don't want people to like get caught up on like their fairy tale happily ever after, because it looks, let's just say it looks different for a lot of people. And if you get caught up, I think too many people are caught up on that shit. They caught up on, his good looks and, things that seem great. And they destroy their lives holding on to some man that is trash because he's their fairy tale. He's the best looking man they can fucking get.
See, but I feel like that could work the opposite way too. Like if let's say, let's go with looks, I guess, because that's the most basic thing to go with, right? So if someone has like, I want a very attractive man, you're saying that, let me make sure you're saying this and then I'll give an example. So you're saying that sometimes a woman can miss out on a great guy if she focuses on something, so like solely focuses so much on like looks, for example. She can miss out on a man who has other attributes that could be beneficial to her.
Or she could be missing the fact that man that's good looking as fuck don't have any of those other attributes that she needs.
Okay.
I know a lot of sexy niggas that live in the projects.
That's great.
Sexy people live in the projects because they procreate based off of looks.
Okay. So I'm going to counter that because, and we've talked about this one before, especially about the looks one. I think that could go south the other way too. Like if people are like, you know what, I'm going to compromise looks because this person is so sweet. They could also turn out to be get her book, How to Know If a Man Is Using You, because you could also find a man who's ugly and like sweet talking you, and then he's a psycho too. So to me, it's more about
what
having
ugly niggas out here sweet talking you though.
Listen. Let's
ugly people.
Let's not
just like ugly girls. Why do you think it's always ugly? How do you think the ugly girl get the hot dude? Listen. Wait. The ugly girl get the hot dude. The ugly girl get the hot dude because she does shit for him. That's how the ugly girl get the hot dude. Okay? The ugly guy is the same way. The ugly guy, I'm not saying that the ugly guy can't be a fucking asshole. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying more than likely the drop dead gorgeous nigga is going to be the one
that's not true.
It's crazy.
That's not true. That's exactly what I'm saying. There are people who are not attractive who still end up being crazy. So I believe that if like you don't have to compromise that much, like it's all a mindset. Like if we move, like to me, it's a mindset. It's about the idea, like you have to know how to pick and choose. And I know some people need playbook, a more detailed playbook.
I'll let you finish. You've been talking.
Who?
You.
Oh my God, isn't that private chat? Yeah, it is private chat. I can't handle you. So I think that we have to be more well-rounded in our approach to finding that relationship, and then we can find, you know, almost 100% what we want in a person if our mindset is correct. So it's like if you want a provider, you know what? I need a beat because I'm getting, I have like all these thoughts that I want to put out there, but I need a beat. I didn't even bring my water today. Wow, and this is supposed to be my best friend. So sweet. It's okay. I just have to text
I almost choked on it, no. I almost choked on it. Oh shit.
That's God telling you stop fucking around.
Listen. Okay, you want to take a break and read some of these comments?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jada says truth is associating fairy tales with succeeding at your goals in life is the problem, and it's created desperate people. That's what she said. Listen. That's what she said.
Wait, go back. Desperate people. Okay, I don't get that.
Having a happily ever after is fine when it's associated with a relationship because it requires you to think of your preferences and try to stick with them. Okay. Yeah. She also says a fairy tale to me is trying to live out my life closely associated to the fables I read and expecting to live that in life as if it's going to be a quick greeting and love and a completely happy time. Yeah, it's not, nothing is a completely happy time. You know, he might get you on your nerves today.
Yeah, but I think it's how you handle that. It's how you handle that. I think that's the best.
That's the point. It's okay if he gets you on your nerves today, or you get him on his damn nerves today. It's okay because you're both human beings.
But exactly, but being human being doesn't mean you still can't have this very ideal relationship. Like nothing is 100% perfect because that just doesn't exist. But I think that the best situation for you is out there. And it's like if we want to eliminate the word fairy tale, I'm all for that because what I'm more a champion of is not the word fairy tale, but the fact that a woman can have someone who is a match for them, someone that they want, and they don't have to be.
And we agree on that.
And they don't have to be constantly compromising their list because other people think that their standards are too high. And I feel like that's where the fairy tale gets broken down. Like that, if we continue to use that word, is the fact that like women can't search for their ideal. You know, women are told like don't look for a good looking man, or don't look for a rich man, or don't look for this, or don't look for that. Like your preference.
I do think that you should be more attractive than your man. That's my personal opinion. Jada says, sometimes people find beauty in physical, unattractive people because the beauty he or she sees overpowers the physical and it makes them appreciate each inch of them. Yeah. I've liked people that a lot of people would not necessarily consider attractive or as attractive as I did, but I did. Happy birthday, Mahogany. Shout out to Mahogany. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
I know I saw it somewhere in here. The tall, dark, and handsome and muscular or Coke bottle shape, the fantasy. The fantasy.
But why does tall, dark, and handsome have to be a fantasy? Like
I don't even want tall, dark, and handsome.
It could exist for you if you want it. If you want it, you can get it. Like that's my thing. I think that you can get it. Like this is what it is. We all have been told to make that list, right?
Yeah, I remember making a list and you judging me over my list a couple
I
of years.
didn't judge you over your list. I thought it was. I told you it was great. Why are you spreading lies in these internet streets? Oh, what's this? Water. Oh, I could get it too.
You were so lame.
And I'm not gonna.
My list.
I'm not gonna talk
because I had an income.
That's not true. My list has an income too. Why are you over here trying to? You don't need to make this.
The hell out of my
no,
list.
I did not. No, I did not.
I was like 27. It was before I had my daughter. Yes, you did. You judged the hell out of my list.
No,
and
I
was
didn't.
Like, well, maybe. I'm like, damn. But then you came around and realized that my list was a good list. But let's not act like back in the day you didn't judge my list. That's all.
You know what? I'm just gonna let you run with that one because I have my hoops on and I'm not in the mood today.
She had her hoops. She got her hoops on and she not with it today. Okay.
No, but
anyway, I found out something about men who are really tall. You want to know a secret?
No, I want to finish my thought.
All right, I'm gonna tell the people in the chat a secret. Men who are really tall, like 6'5", 6'6", 6'4". I used to like men who were like really, really tall. They don't have big dicks.
So I think that your list needs to be like, you need to honor your list. And like the reality is like, sometimes you're going to find someone who isn't 100% of everything on your list, but because they're 98% of it and the other two things are flexible, like everything's going to be ideal with that person. And the most important thing is that you also know how to manage your relationship, because I find like a lot of times we do find mates who are great for us, but then we don't know how to treat them, or we don't know how to be in a relationship. And so that creates a negative situation. So it's like if someone, one that gets on my nerves, I remember someone told me like, I moved in with my girlfriend and she's really clean, but she doesn't, because she keeps everything in order, she doesn't dust that much. So then he's complaining, but he's like, I'm super messy. So I'm like, you've been together for 5 years. You want to marry her. She's great and everything else, but you're going to start an argument because there's a little dust on the table. Like, how does that make sense? Like, that's not managing your relationship. And that's creating,
maybe that wasn't yourself.
Do it yourself.
Fairy tale was for her to be perfect.
But that's the thing. It's about perfect for you. And it's about managing the relationship. Because if you don't know how to manage a relationship, even if you find someone who is perfect, you're not going to be able to enjoy it. So it's two things. It's two
parts. You're arguing my point.
What?
You're arguing my point.
I'm not trying to argue against you. You're the one
who's... You're making my point for me.
What is your point? What is your point?
You just said your friend, his girl is perfect. She clean up everything, but she don't necessarily like to dust. And it's an issue. Their life is everything is so, because she don't dust. That sounds to me like he have some ideal of perfection.
No,
some bullshit in his head.
That wasn't the story I said.
And the minute she didn't,
that wasn't the story I said. I never said that she was perfect. I said that she was great for him. They had a good relationship, and he was complaining about her not dusting and asking me how to bring it up, all this stuff. And I'm like, don't make a little thing a bigger thing than what it needs to be. Like, that's when your relationship starts becoming less perfect and starts unraveling in your face, when you don't know how to manage it. So I'm saying that it's like you can find someone who's everything on your list, but you can't recognize if that's your perfect for you person if you don't know how to manage the relationship itself. So if you're arguing all the time, if you know someone doesn't like to dust, but they have everything else that you love about them, part of creating that ideal situation.
Hiring a maid.
Hi, Giovanni. Hiring a maid.
You can get a maid for like $40 to come in your house.
Okay, because that wasn't the solution I wanted to provide. That's great, but that's not a solution I wanted to provide.
Why is that not a great solution to this problem?
Because that's not. Listen,
Tell me why that's not a great solution.
I didn't say it wasn't a great solution, but that's not the solution I was going to propose as part of my point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You see, she just wants to argue. Contrary. She just wants to be contrary. But okay.
The point being, whether it's hiring a maid or dusting it yourself, those are little things that if you just take the initiative of solving yourself versus creating a problem out of it, that's how you maintain a perfect relationship. Like, how many times do people get in relationships that they nitpick on the other person so much that it just creates a sore in the relationship, and then it's like you don't have it.
But I think that's kind of my point. Because it's like when you have this fairy tale in your mind, nobody on this planet, even your own damn self, will not be able to fulfill that fucking picture, that fairy tale picture you have in your head. It's not reality. You're always going to find something like dusting or they don't or shit. They want to kiss you before they brush their teeth in the morning. Some shit. It's always going to be something that is not going to be necessarily ideal, but it's not that deep. And you still have a fantastic relationship. It's just not. If you find somebody who is every last thing, even to the way they brush their teeth, is of your fucking liking.
See, this is what always happens, because it's like you say I'm contrary, but you contrary too, okay? So we are making the same point, but we're just going about it differently, which is what we always do.
I said that, but you wanted to argue with me about hiring a maid.
No. No. The problem is not the problem, but I think that it's language, but it's also, what would I say? It's language, but it's also understanding. It's like a mindset. That's what I was going to say. It's also a mindset. Like I am
the table, boo.
What are you talking about?
We women are the table. Let me just say that. Just so you know.
I think that it's a mindset too. Like if you understand, like it's a whole thing, like beautifully imperfect, like imperfection is beautiful, and managing your expectations. That's what it is to me. Like I'm not seeing that person's flaws as like flaws. I'm just understanding that that's a part of who they are.
They're human. Yeah. And they don't dust or whatever. It is what it is.
That doesn't take away from how great they are.
Might be your soulmate. It doesn't change the fact that, I don't know. Like I said, I just think maybe it's just the verbiage. I just think the, fairy tale implies some sort of unattainable perfection that causes people to get caught up, like I said, in situations like that where now you questioning your shit because the bitch don't dust.
See, but I don't know. Like to me, perfection doesn't mean whatever. Like perfection, what is perfection? Like I'm talking about perfect for you, perfect for the individual, perfect for the person.
I critique a lot, or she critiques a lot. She critiques a lot, not me.
I can believe that you critique a lot, but we all need a friend like that. I think she talk about you.
I think she talk about
you. I think she talk about you.
You.
I think about you. I think that, okay, we steer away a lot from using our personal life, but I'm gonna use that. All that boneless cake goes to their legs and not that third one. Ay, Dios mío.
She said we more aggressive today. But I don't know why. I told
because we knew this topic was gonna be a hot topic for me and Jovi.
Is the reason the fairy tale not reached is because we don't believe that it does? What?
That it's not reached. That you can't reach it. Like the reason you can't reach a fairy tale is because you don't believe that you can reach it.
I don't believe no one's perfect.
See, but I don't think of a fairy tale as perfection. I think of
See,
it
so again, we're caught up on semantics.
yeah.
I don't believe that. I don't think that anyone's perfect. And I think expecting it, like you said, with your own example, your friend complaining about a chick dusting, when if he was just and just happy and acknowledged that he was in a fantastic, amazing relationship with his soulmate, that he wouldn't need to figure out how to fucking talk about dusting. He would have just thought to hire a maid.
Or he'll dust it himself.
The biggest issue in life is that your boo don't want to dust. You ain't got an issue. You ain't got an issue. But people will make that an issue on the attainment to said fairy tale and cause more problems than needed to be. That's my opinion.
You know, I think that we should talk about like a different example from dusting, because
okay, fine.
Because this is a serious problem for a lot of women. So let's backtrack, because I'm gonna throw a curveball in this. I feel like sometimes, because we don't necessarily know how to identify certain traits in people, like how to identify like someone who's kind, or like someone who's giving, or someone who's generous, or we think that just because a man has money, he's going to be generous with it, for example, instead of understanding what are the character traits that demonstrate generosity. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay. I feel like a lot, like sometimes women say, I want a man who makes a lot of money or makes more money than me. And they find a man who makes a lot of money, but he's not willing to spend it on her, for example. You know?
Well, stupid then.
Huh? What?
What's the point of being with a dude who make money if you ain't gonna if he ain't gonna do anything for you?
Okay, yeah. But no. Okay, let's take that a step further. So he has money, and you want him to be loving and affectionate with you, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like when you're dating and looking for men, you're only looking at them. You make assumptions about about them based on the fact that they fit a certain criteria. You know what I mean? Like, we're not sometimes looking beyond that. Like when we make our list, we say we want a man with money, we want a man who's generous, let's say, and we want a man who's great with kids, right? And so we go after the man who might be great with kids, but he's not generous, or he might have a lot of money, but he's not good with kids. So it's like, then you get stuck with someone who maybe have that one trait that you like, or two or three, and then you're missing out on the other ones. Like, oh, why doesn't he spend time with the children, or why doesn't he, give me nice presents for Christmas, but he has all this money, or he's successful. Like, I feel like sometimes we get like shortchanged on our list because we don't know how to look past the superficial of what we identify as being like well off or good. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's a problem that stops people from finding their ideal mate and getting the happy ending, or the happy with imperfections, happy sometimes ending.
So basically, you're saying you should be a little open.
I think you should be open and understand like the different cues that would represent those traits that you are looking for in a person. And dig a little deeper, because I think that that's what happens too. Like, we don't ask the right questions, and we get swept up with what is just on our list, but we don't dig deeper. We don't do the investigating behind it, because a list is just a list, but what does it mean to be each of those characteristics? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Lacey said this is a very interesting topic.
I'm glad you like it. Jada's on fire today. You really coming for me. How is that?
Listen, you need to Natalie does not like watching the videos back. We all of us who make videos comprehend it at first. It's difficult to watch them back. You really need to watch the videos back because you're proving my point. You know, you saw me, right? I was just like, yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we don't.
I know her long enough to know that if I said like, but all you're doing is proving my point, she's gonna be like, no.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm not gonna disappoint you. No, what I'm saying is that sometimes we don't know how to look for our fairy tale. That's what I'm saying.
Listen to what you said. The fairy tale is having, like you said, that list, like the crazy girl, like whoever, the girl or the man, whatever. This like this, but we missing this other shit because we so focused on this.
So see, I didn't explain myself properly.
Go ahead, continue.
I didn't explain myself properly. What I'm saying is that we have our list, and you can find your list, but the list isn't just the list. Like sometimes I think we look at our list and look at someone. It's like, are you rich? Are you this? Are you that? Are you that? Are you that? Are you that? But you don't know what that necessarily looks like. Like we have one definition of what that looks like when it could look a lot of ways. Like generosity. Okay. Generosity. Okay. He could give you gifts, but do you really like someone who's going to give you gifts and then they're stingy with everybody else?
No, but these are things, again, these are things you're supposed to be looking at, because you're supposed to be looking at the person as a whole and not this ideal. Because I think that sometimes, and you're right, because you said what I said. Yeah. We can be blinded by, you know, the things on our list, or, you know, like you said, oh, he buys me all of this stuff and he does all of this amazing things for me. So you missing so much of this other shit that's happening around, and who he actually is as a person. No one is perfect. No one is perfect.
No one, I never said, see, I feel like my words are being misinterpreted because we do use different language. Yes, because I never said anybody's perfect. I said perfect for you. Perfect for you. I said fairy tale is personal and perfect for you, the individual. I didn't say that. I'm pretty sure I said that. So what I am saying,
come here, baby. I should give you a hug. She's so mad that she's making my point.
I am not making your point.
Okay.
Because I think that the fundamental difference between what you're saying and what I'm saying is language too. Yeah, I think that people deserve to be a little bit more, like, I don't think we have to look at things like, oh, so anchored in seriousness all the time. Like, why can't we use those words? Like, I think once you become an adult, like, things don't have to be so literal all the time. If you gain not even an adult, once you gain some self-awareness, things don't have to be so literal. That's all.
See, even Troy said you said that, and he likes to fuck with me all the time.
What I said, perfect for you.
Seems so perfect for him with the dust, and that he shouldn't be bothered. But that's his fairy tale.
I don't understand.
What you don't understand? You don't want to understand. You are way too educated not to understand what she said, Miss English Major. You are way too educated to not understand what you're saying. You use the example of old boy, but again, an old boy example, when I proved that his example was the reason why, you know, we should not have fairy tale be attaining to fairy tales. You didn't want to use it in the moment.
But I don't think that him pointing out something that bothers him about his partner means that he can't achieve
Who is this person?
Happiness. We don't need to get into that, but huh?
Send it to me in the chat. Because I need to know why some random man is complaining about his wife, his woman, whatever, Dustin to you.
Well, listen,
that is problematic.
At the time they weren't, they're married now, so obviously they resolved the dusting problem. And the advice that I gave him was like, if you love this person, their dusting is not gonna be a problem, and you can do it yourself.
To deal with the realities, and that he found his soulmate, and whatever, and so what if she didn't dust?
Yes,
that hire maid, it's not that deep, it's not that serious.
Yes, but I said that the perfect ending is about perfect for you, and also knowing how to manage your relationship. It's two parts to this. Like you say that I'm being black and white. I feel like you're being black and white because I'm talking about the gray.
I'm gray.
No, you're not gray.
Remember, I'm gray.
No. Listen, I'm saying that there's two parts to it, and I think that I think it's verbiage. I think that that's the biggest difference between, I guess, the way that we're saying things is the verbiage that we're using.
Okay.
Because I didn't say, number one, what is perfect. I'm pretty sure I said that perfect is beautifully imperfect. Like someone's gonna have.
You said that like 40 minutes into the live, bro.
Exactly. I still said it.
You know when you won the debate team back in the day,
I said it.
You coming. I ain't gonna lie, you keep it up.
Listen,
you adjusted.
I am not adjusting. This was supposed to be an evolving conversation.
It is an evolving conversation.
Okay, so that's what's happening. So what I'm saying is that, having your happily ever after is not just about the person having, the person being perfect and doing everything that you like all the time. That's not what I'm saying. Like, I think that we also have to reevaluate what our idea of perfect is and what that means. That's what I'm saying. And so if you want to have that relationship where you can say to people, I'm happy, even if you had that one argument, like, I'm not saying you're not going to argue. I'm not going to say you're not disagreements. I would never, right now, I would never say that I'm unhappy, even if I had an argument with my husband. Bless you. Allergies?
Yeah.
I would never tell anybody I'm unhappy in my relationship or whatever, even if we had an argument, because I understand as a whole, we're doing great and we are perfect. We are perfect because I can say that for me, my relationship is that way. And I'm saying that every person can have that feeling and that satisfaction in their relationship. And I'm not saying that means that person doesn't have unique qualities to them. I'm simply saying that the way we cope with them and the way we handle them and what we look for, and that we can look for what's great for us, leads us to having that happily ever after. I don't know what's so hard about that.
Jada got something else to say.
But obviously, I'm not, just because they're married now, don't mean they're happy. There's unhappy people that settle because someone told them this dust is so serious, because then there's more to it. But that's not the point that we're talking about, because obviously I'm talking about a relationship, in the search for a relationship that's perfect for you. So that's assuming that you are happy if you're getting married. That was an example for that singular moment, the dust or whatever. So
there's something else besides the dusted.
I love how you're hanging on to the example.
Oh God! Like I tell my husband, he isn't perfect, but he is perfect for me.
Thank you. I don't know what's so hard about that. I mean, it's like, do we not believe that we can get that? Like, there are people who are happy out there.
Fairy tale.
So then the word fairy tale, you could throw it out. You could throw it out. Whoever
No,
doesn't
you
like
should have
that
said
word,
that 50 minutes
they
ago.
can throw it
No,
out.
59 minutes and 19 seconds.
Yeah,
and you have to throw it out.
because I'm talking about having a perfect relationship for you. I'm talking about the people who believe that they can't get what they want and that they can't be happy. Because there's a lot of women who believe that. There's a
And
lot of
that's
women.
sad if they do.
It is sad, but that's why for me it was the point that I wanted to make was more that you can get that happily ever after. Like you could be happy in your relationship, and that doesn't mean that the person isn't going to leave their sock around and say the wrong thing one day. But that means that overall, when you're going out into the world, you're going out with a smile. You're going out knowing that you have someone who has your back. You're going out knowing that you have someone who is your best friend and your husband and your partner, and you're smiling and you look good and you're glowing, and you, even if you had an argument, even if you had 100 arguments, you could say I'm happy and really mean it. That's what I'm saying.
Jada made a comment, and this is probably going to be one of our last comments because we hit our hour. So Jada said, ignore what she first said. What you're describing is not a fairy tale, because I was thinking this too, but I didn't want to say nothing, because in a fairy tale there would not even be no argument. It would just be perfection.
That's not true, because then that's your interpretation.
Fairy tale, that's a definition of a fairy tale.
It's perfect for you.
No, that's the definition of a fairy tale. Even though even though we've thrown it out,
but we're not using it. Okay,
we threw out the word fairy tale.
Do we understand that there's things like metaphors and allegories and comparison? And to me, fairy tale's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for happily ever after, and fairy tale is a metaphor for the life that you want to lead. And I like what Lady Daydream said. A fairy tale is a story we can all write our stories. So yes, it's your story, your happily ever after, the story that's right for you. And it's like, if everyone wants to, if we don't want to believe in that, that's fine. But I understand what I'm saying. And I don't know, I have a lot of people who've agreed.
Okay.
You're gonna have disagreements because, okay, Jada says, so you're saying perfect for you, so arguing is a fairy tale for you. Jovi and I argue all the time, but that doesn't mean that's the nature of our relationship, and I don't mind that. That's just how me and her are. So that works for us. That's perfect for us. That might not be perfect for someone else, but we understand that part of the imperfection is that we work great as a team. We're super loyal to each other. We're really supportive of each other, but we have really interesting conversations. And so I'm not going to take away from how perfect our friendship is or how much I love our friendship because we have our situation.
The topic, y'all.
No, well, I mean, she
came with the uppercut, y'all.
I'm saying, like, I respect people for who they are and I evaluate them based on my life. Like, I don't mind the argument. No, I don't. I argue with my mom. We all have disagreements. But it's like, obviously, I don't want to get my ass beat down. Like, that's not a fairy tale. There's levels to this. And I think that when we ignore the subtlety of everything, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think, Miss Jada, we're ignoring the subtlety. We're ignoring the levels of this conversation. It's not black and white. It's not I like to argue. What I'm saying is that when you're happy and you're happy with yourself and you're happy with your relationship, you have an understanding of what is valuable. Like, your perspective changes. Maybe I'm speaking from a different place because even before I met my husband, I was in a different place and I kind of understood the layers of relationships and what it means to find perfection, because Jovi knows I have a very strong relationship with perfection. So I had to reinterpret it, but that doesn't mean I'm not happy. I'm happy. And what I have, from my friendships to my relationships to my career, is perfect for me. That's all I can say.
Okay. All right. I'll let you have that. I'll let you have the last word. All right, guys. So we went over. We're at like 104, but it was a great chat. When she brought this chat up, I was like, oh God. When she brought the idea up, I was like, I didn't even get to my notes. I didn't even click over to my notes one time. So
you got to some of them.
Naturally, but I didn't click over there not one time because it was just a great conversation. Just happens, you know. I feel like it just happens. But nonetheless, we appreciate y'all for coming. And Natalie is perfect for me. You're my best friend. And I don't need no fairy tale bullshit. I need some real shit. I need a soulmate.
Well, I have my happily ever after, so that's all I can say.
She has a soulmate. We're not gonna get into the fairy tale. That's Capricorn. Ignore her. Anyway, as always, we hope you live your life like it's golden because there's no other way to live it.
Bye.